Hello, Alistair. Am I saying that right? I'm never sure if it's Alistair, Alistair. How would you say it?
Alistair.
Alistair. Okay, Alistair. Alistair, thanks for talking with me today. So first, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and all that.
So I'm based in Cork in Ireland, in the south of Ireland, and I currently work in the pharmaceutical industry as a team lead. And I also do a lot of spiritual work and personal development in my own time. So I'm really passionate about personal growth, personal development, and spirituality.
All right, cool. And so I know that you just started. Well, we've done 6 sessions now out of our group stress optimism. I mean, sorry, stress, anxiety, and emotional empowerment group reprogram. And so that's an 8 week reprogram, the group sessions. And up to now, we've done a number of those. But why don't you tell me before we get into that, what was your life like before starting this work with me 6 weeks ago? Tell me about some of
Well,
the specific issues you faced.
Well, some of the big issues I would have faced would have been social anxiety, generalized anxiety, focusing on negative thinking, so a lot of negative thinking as well, and just being a little bit paralyzed by fear. So having a lot of fear that was holding me back, preventing me from taking risks, preventing me from moving forward, and a lack of confidence really in myself to, compared to others despite the things I've achieved and done in my life, the confidence just wasn't there. And also, a really strong inner critic, just holding me back. So not being able to be my authentic self, really.
Okay. And so were you aware of some of the limiting beliefs or limiting programming that you had coming into these group sessions with me?
Yes, I was aware that like I would have had this feeling of not being good enough, I'm not worthy, um, you know, I'm not as good as others, always comparing myself to others, always just feeling kind of inadequate.
And what had you tried up until you started doing these group sessions? What had you tried and how did that work for you?
So I've tried and I thought I'm 40 now and I started my spiritual journey, I suppose, probably the 30s, so about 10 years ago, and I've taken a lot of spiritual courses, personal development. I went to psychotherapy, traditional psychotherapy, psychologists. I've done other types of hypnotherapy. So I've tried a lot of stuff, but I just didn't really see a sufficient shift in, reducing the stress, releasing the anxiety.
And so it sounds like you had a lot of awareness perhaps coming in, but just not getting the results that you wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of awareness, so yeah, and I could just see I was getting frustrated actually that like I was like, is there anyone there or is there anything that could help me? So I was always looking for the next course, the next thing that because everything promises you the sun, moon, and the stars, and I kind of wasn't getting it. So it was really frustrating because I just thought maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe this is my path. Maybe I'm just gonna be, destined for this for the rest of my life, which was it felt hopeless really.
So and so if that's the way it was, what has your life been like since working with me? I know we've done 6 different sessions on different things and we can get into that in a moment, but overall, let's talk about what your life has been like and how you feel now compared to how you felt before.
Well, I feel like I don't know myself. I feel like a completely different person, and other people have commented on that as well. I just feel so much more relaxed, so much more comfortable in myself. And it was almost like as if I was trying to become something that I was not. Whereas now I'm recognizing that, oh, this is kind of who I always was, but I was afraid to embrace it or not comfortable to embrace it. Whereas now I'm kind of embracing who I am because of all the negativity has fallen away. I'm just being free to be myself, So I'm noticing it in my day-to-day life. It just feels so much more relaxed without having to feel I have to impress or do something to get respect from others.
I imagine that's a lot more freeing way to live, huh?
It's a lot more freeing and a lot more energizing and not exhausting because always worrying what people think, being anxious all the time is exhausting because it takes such a drain on your energy.
Mhm. Yeah, that negative energy spiral just keeps you down. So the first session that we did as part of the stress and anxiety and emotional empowerment reprogram was on optimism, and so really addressing that pessimistic attitude and worry mindset, and getting you to think more positively. How have you seen how that has affected you and how you approach your life and think about things and even yourself?
Well, I'm just more positive about my life overall. Whenever you experience challenges, I've come to realize that challenges are inevitable in life, but now I don't let them to put me into a state of spiraling or, losing my sense of focus over life. So just being able to see the bigger picture and being just more grateful and appreciative of my life. So I'm just not allowing things to disempower me. I'm just happier overall, so have a more of an optimistic outlook, and I've taken risks that I wouldn't have taken before because I'm like, oh, I can do this. Whereas before I might say, oh no, that's not going to work out. So now I'm taking more risks and putting myself out there because of that optimistic outlook for the future.
Amazing. I imagine that feels great. Yay, being so much happier in your life.
It's amazing, yeah. And I even applied for another job last week, which was like really outside of my comfort zone to work with one of the top spiritual healers in the US, to be working on their sales team to sell their programs. And normally I would never do something like that. And they've invited me to the next stage of their group interview next week. So that just positivity and that kind of can-do attitude is bringing in these new opportunities, which I just couldn't have imagined before.
And how's that shifted your idea of what your comfort zone actually is and what's outside of your comfort zone?
Well, it's making me realize how I'm so much more capable of being more expanded, and I can have like achieve a lot more than I've allowed myself over these last 20 years.
Because you're just more comfortable in yourself than most anything is within your comfort zone. So why not just go for it because you're being,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. And anxiety was a huge thing coming into this stress and anxiety and emotional empowerment reprogram. So how is the anxiety lesson? We did anxiety and social anxiety. I imagine they're a little tied but somewhat different. So why don't you speak to a little bit? I know we did a session on each of those, but yeah, maybe speak to how that has helped, those upgrades to your subconscious have impacted you in your life now.
Well, that was the main reason I signed up for this course because of the anxiety. That's what specifically drew me because as I said, I've tried lots of things, CBT and different therapies to try and focus on anxiety, but I just didn't really see the results to overcome it. So it always felt like it was crippling. But now I didn't realize that anxiety and social anxiety were so different actually. And from your courses, from your sessions, I was actually able to see the difference because I experience differences in my life with both of them because anxiety is just general kind of worry and stress about so many things in your life, whether it's finances, your health, your work, your day-to-day living, even the smallest things where, that could really trip you up and kind of get you stressed out, get a bad email or whatever, and you start going into an anxious state. So I was probably in that energy a lot of the time. If I have to do meetings or presentations, there'd be anxiety. And then social anxiety is maybe just more interacting with people in certain situations. So I saw a huge shift in both of them because now I'm not as stressed or anxious as I was in situations at work, in meetings with my managers, meetings with my colleagues, social situations, going to the supermarket, meeting people in public, small things like that. They might seem small to someone else, but they used to really, get me into a state of anxiety going, oh, I have to face people, I have to meet people. Whereas now it just doesn't even occur. It just doesn't register because it's like, oh, I'm like, is this what everyone else feels normally, that they just feel I'm just going to do this? So it just feels relaxed and I can do stuff that felt like a chore before. So I've seen huge shift, that I haven't seen previously in my life. So I've never experienced anything like this. And because I've done a lot of spiritual courses, certain things target very specific things, but I think the power of your work is it's so thorough and so broad. It really, tackles everything that could be possibly holding you back under a specific theme. And, it's so intensive. I can see why it's so powerful because, no, I haven't come across anyone else or any of the courses who are covering so much in their sessions.
Very comprehensive. Yes, it's the most thorough that I know of that exists, to be honest. So it sounds like you not only the anxiety's not no longer holding you back, but you've been more proactive as a result in getting more things done and doing things that you really wanted to do. Does that sound like it sounds like
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I even did a presentation today at work. I was doing tapping for work for a group of 20 people. And again, I felt so much more relaxed. I was actually excited rather than anxious before it. And the feedback I got was just phenomenal. I have done something like that last year, but I didn't get the same level of feedback. So I'm in a completely different space. So the energy and how people responded to me was absolutely phenomenal. And I didn't have that inner critic before. I'd be kind of criticizing myself going in, beating myself up. And then afterwards, I actually felt free from, even before the feedback came in, I was just comfortable with what I had done. Whereas before, my inner critic would be like, oh, they didn't enjoy it, or why didn't, more people join, or my inner voice would be kind of beating myself up. And that didn't happen. So that was amazing.
that's pretty cool because inner critic that really changing that vicious inner critic that so many people have into a positive and supportive one is the what the session was yesterday. And
Yeah.
so you're already
So I
experiencing
was seeing the
results.
results already, which was phenomenal. And I was just like, oh, why am I not like really, I would be beating myself up before. This was at 9 o'clock this morning. I'd be beating myself up before it. And then afterwards, even if it went well, I'd still be like, oh, maybe I could have done it better. Or maybe why wasn't there more people at it? Or why didn't this person send me a message to say that was amazing? I just was like detached and just again, I think it's the baseline I think is just being really comfortable in yourself and being your authentic self and saying this is me and take it or leave it and just really being grounded and confident in that, you
So
know?
you would say instead of stress and anxiety, now you're feeling calm and comfortable and confident in yourself. Does that sound
I definitely think so. And I actually think, even that the title of the program actually, it's so much more than that. People think it's just stress and anxiety, but really it's, becoming your authentic self. And I know people kind of think, oh yeah, become your authentic self, but that's what we're actually all looking for. But we need to pull away the negativity, the stress, the anxiety. We need to pull away all of those layers so that we're left with our true self. And
yeah.
in your true self, that brings happiness, brings joy, it brings the stuff that everyone is looking for, really, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's, people are sometimes will say to me, well, I'm worried and like I'm going to become somebody that I don't know. And that's kind of scary. And it's more like, no, I'm becoming the me I was always meant to be without that BS programming standing in the
Hmm.
way from me being who I was always meant to be. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, which is like you say, your authentic self. That's who you were always meant to be. So that's
Hmm.
awesome. And so, and then the critical inner voice that we just did yesterday, what was that like? Not only not criticizing yourself before and after something, but what did you feel instead, or what was going on inside your head instead of
I felt just so much calmer and so much comfortable in myself. And I even when I was in the office today, I just wanted to sit in a quieter area, just wanted to have a kind of a chill day. I didn't sit in the main area with the rest of the team. And before I might be like beating myself up, going, oh, why aren't you sitting with the team? And oh, I just was like, I want to sit here. And so I was totally at ease with myself. Like that's how I would say it, just at ease. But there wasn't even these thoughts ruminating in my mind. I was just more aware of, oh, I want a coffee or I want a water and just all of this kind of
present,
constant,
being
yeah,
fully
more
present in the
present
moment?
and
Yeah,
none of this kind of incessant negativity or thinking that just keeps, annoying you like an inner critic, like somebody standing next to you going, look, there you go again. It's just more present and more peaceful, I would say, you know?
amazing, amazing. And I know one of the most comprehensive sessions that we did, and one that I actually did for myself, I listened to my own recording of the group session last week, was the freedom from negativity, where we addressed so many kinds of negativity that everyone experiences in their life on a daily basis, not just anxiety, but any kind of negativity, from frustration to, anger to like every kind of negativity that you can name. We addressed all of it. So after doing that, how would you say things have shifted for you? I imagine it's a little bit above and beyond even the anxiety.
Well, I think that's just covering your whole life, really, because we're negative about so many things, about people, about situations, about maybe lack of money or lack of opportunities. So it just limits our opportunities. It limits our ability to see options in our life. So I have, as I said, I went for that job that I would normally not go for. That's being, moving me out of that negative state into a positive state. I'm no longer negative about people that I work with that I would have seen through a certain lens. People that would have really, pissed me off before. It's now like, oh, there they go again. And it's just kind of like coming into a state of observer. And it's kind of like when you're just not easily triggered. I think that's the big thing that I would say for the negativity. When you clear that, you're just not triggered by situations, because when something negative happens, or when you're just looking at things that are negative, you're going to be triggered, all day long, because someone's going to say something or do something where you're just kind of you're you're more able to cope, I would say, more stronger in yourself. So it's a kind of a strength. Um, and you just see that there's so much to be grateful for. So I think more appreciative of life, more appreciative of what's happening and what people are actually doing. So I don't think even you see the negativity in my experience, you
Well,
know?
because it from this point, once we've upgraded the subconscious, all the negative things that are going on or people's reactions to things or things that used to be triggering, now they have nothing to do with you. They're
Hmm.
like that's that person's, that's their programming. I can see that, that's whatever that is, and they're having, whatever it is, or even if I'm dealing with a negative situation, but you're not having to step into it anymore because you're dealing with it from such a more resourceful state, and coming from gratitude even, it's such a more resourceful state to come from. And you mentioned the freedom from like a lot of those negative, like even going after that job that you wouldn't have. And that was the next session we did, was freedom from fear. And a lot of people have a lot of fears in their lives. So obviously, that fear wasn't there. So you're able to do that. How else is freedom from fear impacted you?
Well, I mean, I'm just taking more opportunities, even at work. As I said, I did that presentation today. I was asked about that 2 weeks ago. And before, I might have found excuses or kind of tried to maybe get out of it or not taken the opportunity. So I said yes to it. Like, I've applied for that job, which is like, it's even sales, which is completely out of my comfort zone. It's like, but I'm like, no,
Used to be out of your
used
comfort
to
zone.
be out of my comfort zone. So I've just gone, fear would have just, debilitated me really. It would have just prevented me from moving forward, taking risks. I'm also in the process of selling my house and I'm just kind of like going full steam ahead. Whereas fear might be like, oh, maybe I'm making the wrong decision. Is this the right? Whereas now I'm kind of just connected into who I truly am and wanting to pursue my passions. It's like you're not going to let fear hold you back anymore. This
Yeah.
is your life. You're here, to live your life. So just go do it and just cut with the kind of the BS. It's because it's just like I think they're all connected. The inner critic, the negativity, the fear. It's just like this noise or this like stuff that's just going on there that's clouding your vision. And so when you clear it all away, everything becomes clearer, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because I mean, not only is it complete freedom, it's absolute freedom, but now, as you put it, you're in alignment with yourself. And so you're
Hmm.
to make decisions and to take action from a place of alignment with, your true self. And
Hmm.
that's what's happening, which is, not only just freeing, that's living an aligned life, that's kind of the goal, isn't it?
And I forgot to mention because, I've just today I signed up to publish a book with Balboa Press. So like that's the things that are happening in my life. I'm also planning on organizing a retreat in September in the Azores. So, there's so much change happening in my life that would be fear. If fear was getting in the way, I would not be taking those risks. So I'm just like, no, I'm going to publish my book. No, I'm going to run my own retreat. So it's like all of the obstacles have just been pulled out of the way, and now it's just like full steam ahead.
Publishing
So
my
I mean,
book. I'm doing a retreat. I'm
yeah.
gonna do sales for this that I always wanted to do. I'm gonna sell my house. I mean, look at this. What has this been like a month and a half? And look
Oh
at this.
my God, I'm transforming my entire life.
No, it is. So how would you compare that? How would you compare your life literally between 6 weeks ago and now?
Well, because I've wanted to, write a book for so long, for 5 years, and I've procrastinated on that. And that's one of the reasons why I signed up for your program, because I was like, I want to write a book. I'm here to be, a spiritual teacher, speaker, and I just need to clear all of this BS so that I can go forward and not allow this to hold me back anymore. So, and look what I'm doing. I'm making those decisions. It's like, what are you passionate about? Just go do it, you know?
Just you unleashed. Amazing. So what was the most profound lesson you've learned so far? I know we're still on this journey together for a couple more sessions, but what was the most profound lesson you've learned so far through all this?
Well, just how powerful my innate self is, just connecting to my own innate self and my power, that it was there all along, but it was just kind of covered over with all this gunk or whatever you want to say it, that it's just, I think sometimes you think you have to become somebody else, that like you might think, oh, I'm not confident, or I'm crippled by fear, and you have to become, like someone you see on TV or something. But actually you're becoming who you were always meant to be, and you're just clearing all of that stuff. And it's like I had this awareness that I could be that person all along, but I was like, where are you? I couldn't find that person. So I think that's been the biggest realization, that it's like, oh, I finally get to reconnect with who you were all along. Where have you been my whole life?
That is so amazing and joyful, really joyful.
Yeah,
And joy is such an emotion that gets to come in when you are becoming your voice self, and it doesn't really come in before that. So, and what would you say to somebody who's on the fence about doing this kind of subconscious upgrade work?
I would say, how long is your life? You need to, take life by the reins. You need to pursue your passions. And, how long are you going to make excuses for yourself? Are you living the life you want to lead now? If not, this is what you need. You need to pursue your passions. You need to pursue your soul purpose. You need to, overcome those things that are holding you back, and stop making excuses, because, there is a way, there is a possibility. I didn't believe there was a way before, because I had been so disappointed and so let down. But you have proven me wrong. You have proven me that there is a way, and there is a possibility, and there are solutions, that you don't have to live your life with anxiety and be crippled by fear for the rest of your life, that you can make a change for the better. So I would just say, go ahead and just, Tina is the most amazing teacher that I have ever worked with or experienced. I haven't come across any other spiritual teacher or mentor or psychologist who works so thoroughly and is, making the impact and giving the results. And, this is just phenomenal.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that, because that's, I'm 110% results oriented. And if it weren't for me hearing people like you saying what you do every single day while I'm doing this work, then I wouldn't be doing it, because, if I'm not getting the results, why am I doing what I'm doing? So, I mean, this is what, it's the most beautiful job that I could ever think of doing, working with people's supercomputers, their subconscious, and getting to hear how they're getting into the driver's seats of their lives for the first time ever and becoming who they were really meant to be. I mean, it's the most fulfilling thing I can imagine. So I appreciate you appreciating that. So thank you. And thanks for taking
Pleasure.
time with us today, and for with me, and just answering these questions. I really appreciate it. It's been a joy having you in our group Stress and Anxiety and Emotional Empowerment Reprogram. Looking forward to the next few sessions that we've got. But thank you again for taking your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tina.